Welcome to today's episode of Print to Pixel, the podcast where we speak to marketers and technologists about how omnichannel marketing is revolutionizing the way that direct mail and digital marketing are used together. My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the CEO of Postalytics, the leading direct mail automation platform that makes direct mail marketing as easy as email. I'm excited today to speak with Greg Warner of MarketSmart. Greg Warner is the author of Engagement Fundraising and CEO and founder of MarketSmart, a revolutionary marketing software and services firm that removes friction from the philanthropic giving process for wealthy people who are passionate about customer causes. Greg, welcome to Print to Pixel.
Thanks, Dennis.
We'd love to start on Print to Pixel with our guests telling us a little bit about their backstory. Greg, you started this firm. It's been up and running for a number of years. Tell us what led to you starting MarketSmart. What were the key influences? Why did you do it? And how are those principles from the founding surviving through today?
Yeah, so it's been 17 years. Can't believe it already. Goes by fast. The business was actually founded to be a marketing agency wherein, I always wanted to own my own ad agency or marketing agency ever since I was a kid, kind of Mad Men kind of style from TV. Not that zany, but I grew up outside of New York City. My mom was in the business. It was a natural fit for me. I'm very artistic and I can write copy and play musical instruments and such, very creative. But when I got that running, I learned really fast that everything I thought I always wanted wasn't what I really needed. It wasn't the business for me. But meanwhile, I had been helping a charity for free to generate leads to essentially draw in engagement among the wealthiest and most passionate supporters. These are the people that either you can't find from wealth screening and such and prospect research, or you can find them, but they're not engaging, mostly because they're worried that they're just going to get solicited and ambushed for money. And I actually, the reason why I was helping that charity was because I became a ticked off, what I thought was a major donor in my late 30s. As I made more money, I started giving away more money. And I realized that the giving experience was actually not very good. The more you give, it became worse in many ways. So I reached out to this charity that I had been sending checks to with a comma in it, which was huge for me, and wanted to express my disapproval, if you will. And I found a wonderful woman named Judy. She's retired now, and she basically told me, well, you have to understand that we have all these consultants and these vendors, and they help us and they tell us what to do. And, this is the result. And I said, well, if they're such experts, I got two questions for you. Is why am I calling you? And is it working? And she was like, well, working? No, it doesn't work. And I guess I know why you're calling me, because you don't like it. So I created a strategy for her and mashed up some technologies. And that was the foundation for what we developed. We ended up realizing that the technologies we were using were not going to work for this particular sector. We were using HubSpot and SurveyMonkey and some other tools. And it just was too time consuming and tedious. A lot of wrestling with spreadsheets. So we tied it all together into one software system, and we provide a heck of a lot of service. And now we've got hundreds of organizations running it. with the 10-to-1 ROI guarantee, which I'm happy to say we've never, ever had to give anybody their money back because it's always worked.
Wow, that's incredible. That's truly a great, powerful statement. And I love what you're doing. You describe removing friction from the process, removing spreadsheets from the process. That is near and dear to our hearts at Postalytics because we're founded on these same principles that, spreadsheet based processes, uh, which are the way that direct mail has been done for the last 30 years is, you put everything in a spreadsheet, you email it around and uh, those processes are great for ad hoc, quick things you need to get done. But for scalable, repeatable processes, it's no way to run a scalable process. And so software automation are key drivers of productivity gains. And it seems like we're both trying to do that in our respective categories, which I love. Um, and so you are tackling fundraising and specifically major donors. Is that correct?
Yeah, major donors, and I would put under that category the legacy donors. They are major donors. It's just most of them are leaving their biggest gift for after their lifetime, and also mid-level donors. There are people who start giving 1,000 or 2 or 5,000, like I did. That I mean, in my late 30s, I was not really capable or ready to make the kind of gift that I can make now, almost 20 years later, um, now that the kids are out of school and I'm earning more money than even back then. So yeah, it's really all of those. The idea is that um, institutions, organizations, unbeknownst to them, but because of the traditional orthodoxies that they've been sold and told to implement, they put friction into the process and fear among their donors, which makes them recoil because they don't want to be ambushed. They want to build a relationship. It's very the sector is very organization centric, and they need to be donor driven.
Mm,
So when you let go of what the organization needs and think about more what and by the way, when you think about what the organization needs, you fall into a extraction mentality, and the board will say, go out and ring some arms, twist some arms, just ask. Just ask. We don't ask enough, and stuff like that. And um, that's really nice for the board to say. It doesn't work in the real world because what donors are, they don't care about that. What they care about is how can I find meaning in my life and live out my autobiographical heroism and find symbolic immortality, if you will, so I can live on after my lifetime. And they're looking for a partner that will help co create a gift that is meaningful for everybody and impactful. And um, if you're just thinking about the organization's needs and you're sending fundraisers out with spears to go bring in a kill, you're missing the point. And if you miss that point, you may lose those donors forever. They love your charity because it aligns with their life story, their values, and their desire for a sense of belonging or community or a way to give back. And they treat, in fact, the part of the brain that lights up when they think about your charity is the same part that lights up when people think about love and family.
hmm.
So when you betray that familial trust with an ambush, or an ill-timed solicitation because your organization wants the money, you betray the donor and they recoil, they go to give to either another charity, or what's really happening is they give to the greatest competitor of all charities right now, which is the donor advised fund, because they can still get their tax benefit. They can still get the hit of dopamine that I gave, but they don't actually have to deal with the friction that the organization puts in place because they can't get out of their own way in thinking about their own needs.
Interesting. So then how do you apply those concepts and principles in MarketSmart? And how does it work? Give us an understanding of what this software and the services you provide around it, how it
Yeah.
all actually works.
Okay, so I'll really briefly go over just sort of the strategy and the philosophy, and then I'll go into the brass tacks, super boots on the ground. But the overall philosophy is that you have to embrace the law of reciprocity. You have to be a giver to your supporters and donors before you ask for anything. And when you give, you have to recognize that any major gift, the donor's doing a balancing act in their brain with a fulcrum where they're thinking, is the value of my giving experience equal to or greater than the value of the money I'm about to share? Now, there are some people I've seen give millions of dollars, which is an unnatural act, right? And then they cry tears of joy as they're writing the check. They're so happy. And when you ask them why, it's because, wow, you gave me a chance to give back. I was poor, I was on the street, or I was in the hospital. This gives me a chance to pay it forward, or gives me a chance to realize the best version of myself and become part of the community in a way I couldn't, or live on in the minds of others after. That value can only be determined by the donor, but it can be enhanced by the organization. And then you can co-create and craft this value proposition so that it's meaningful to the donor. Now, the way that we recommend doing that, and people can buy my book or ask me, I'll send it to them for free, send them the audiobook. It's no problem. I give it away all the time. The book's titled Engagement Fundraising, which is the philosophy, this strategy that I've developed. It's about engagement, and it's about value-oriented engagement and being a giver, not a solicitor or extractor. So the first thing you might want to give, and this is all part of our platform and our system because ours is a done-for-you system. In fact, I was just talking to somebody who read my book and tried all this, and she did it. She's like, it works. I get it. I believe you now. It works. I'm like, okay. I mean, you could have called some of our customers, found out, but she said, yeah, I get it. It works. The problem is I can't scale it because it's too much. And that's where I said, well, that's why we built the platform so you can scale it. So what you need to do is first engage your supporters with a value-oriented offer that helps them Socratically ask themselves questions to connect the dots of their motivations. And those always come in three categories. And it's best to have all three, is their life story, help them reflect on how their life story entwines with the cause. Number two is the values. The values of the organization have to align with the values of the individual. If you don't have that, you're just never going to get a major gift or a legacy gift. Number three is a desire for a sense of belonging or community, and that can include paying it forward or giving back, because then you're helping someone like you. And this offer is not going to be accepted by everybody in your donor base. There's a certain percentage of people who the timing will be right and they'll agree to provide feedback and they'll feel more engaged and thankful that they had an opportunity to help without actually giving money. So there's a value exchange here, but there's a problem in that when I started this years, almost 2 decades ago, all of a sudden a lightning rod and all these vendors decided, well, we can sell more printing this way. Let's tell everybody to do donor surveys. And then they warped it and it became a research project, not an engagement project. And the issue is, and we saw this in the data, is that if you ask for people's advice, but you prove to them that you didn't really care about what they said, they get upset. Even if it's in their subconscious, they check a box and they remember, I spent all this time and I gave you all this valuable information about me and and my experience didn't change at all. So there was an inferred promise that you were going to listen and you didn't. So now I'm mad and now I'm going to give less or give to another charity. So this begs the question of, okay, so what do you do with this data? It's not research data. This is data that they shared with you so that you can engage with them properly. So in our platform, the survey data and the click habits, because we monitor the donors where they're clicking on your web pages, and we provide web pages because most organizations don't have the right designs or the right words, the right offers, the right content to download because they just aren't experts in how to do this kind of content marketing for major giving. But the trick is, and it's not really a trick, but the way to be successful at it is to use the data and then to cultivate the relationship for years going forward to prove that you care about this individual, their life history, values, and desires. And you speak to them in a way that's relevant and personalized so it resonates. And that increases your open rates, your engagement rates, and everything. And then, because it usually takes years, when the timing is right, when they sell their business, when they retire, when there's a birth of a new child in the family, when there's a loss of a spouse, when there's an inheritance, whatever it is, when that happens, then they come to you because they've seen the other offers of engagement deeper and giving opportunities, but they haven't been solicited. They've just been warmed up and put on simmer until the time is right for them. And that's when through our scoring, you monitor their engagement score and their verbatims. I call this their verbatims is from their surveys or form fills when they're downloading things, mini surveys. And then there's the digital body language. That's sort of the truth serum because what people say in surveys isn't always exactly true, but where they click usually is, or what they download. So we mash up the digital body language with the verbatims to create a score that's a prioritization score for understanding who's most recently engaged and who is almost screaming out for outreach. And in some cases, the system will automatically encourage these people to set up a meeting. And if our customers allow that, we'll make it so that the donor can just set the meeting themselves to go right into the discussion about co-creating a gift. So let me slow down because the survey isn't the only offer, but it is the best. There are 7 others that we offer to help people get into the system. So I know that was very long-winded, but does that make sense?
It does. And the fact that, at the end of it, you're building this long-term relationship and set of data about the engagement of a relationship,
Yeah.
right? And taking some of these core fundamental principles that have built companies like HubSpot, right? And that have revolutionize the marketing automation, business, and you're applying these same principles, but in a far more strategic way for the fundraising community. I think it makes all the sense in the world, and uh,
The,
and so I'd love to take what you've said, and then let's drill into a specific customer. How has an organization, a nonprofit, taken these concepts, put them into practice, use this engagement score, right, to help to understand who to speak with and when.
yeah, so every organization is a little bit different. We've worked with Salvation Army for many years, and they have certain operational systems that this sort of needs to fit into. And then there's colleges and universities, and some of them have upwards of hundreds of fundraisers so they have a different kind of operation in how they need to procure the data, if you will. And then we have what I call, for lack of a better word, forgive me, but I call them one-legged ass kickers. These are people who are like, they're in an ass kicking contest, but they only have one leg, and it's kind of hard. So this is like the one person or three-person development shop. But in general, I'll give you one is like a small college, Grove City College in Western Pennsylvania, came to us, and most customers. I don't mean to scare anyone who might contact us, but they don't leave us. It does become rather mission critical once they get this system running, and they usually feel their internal marketing team is too busy or that doesn't have the expertise to really manage it. So this is turnkey, but they came to us and they were only doing. Um, I'm sitting here wondering if I can actually say how much data. I won't say the exact numbers, but I will say that they were doing a certain number of millions of dollars a year, and it was only a certain percent was coming. A smaller percent was coming from major gifts, and now we have increased that by 20-fold.
Wow.
20-fold. And it's almost all from major gifts. And they also got their largest bequest ever just recently. It was actually in the news. So the system works. The challenge is the organization, the leadership, the staff, and the board prepared to pivot from a transactional and extractional approach that generates small donations with extremely low retention rates and low lifetime value. I mean, my data shows that the average lifetime value of a donor under $100, lifetime value is just $45. $45. But the major donor over $5,000, their lifetime value is $129,000 on average. This is across the country. And that doesn't include the outsized legacy gifts that those folks provide. And by the way, this data comes from an app I've been giving away for free for 10 years called the Fundraising Report Card, which is at fundraisingreportcard.com. And folks can upload their data. We will be monetizing that app. In other words, we'll probably start charging for it before the end of 2025, finally. But collecting that data over 10 years, we now have 27,000 files from different
Wow.
organizations. So what we're doing as we monetize it, we'll be providing more value through peer level benchmarks that you can get and see comparisons every day. They'll change. Most in the industry are delivering benchmarks like 3 months or 6 months after the end of a quarter or a year. So our benchmarks are instant, but they're also peer level. They're not just industry or sector wide. We can tell you if you're a food bank, how you compare to other food banks your size, specifically in urban centers, perhaps with development teams that are your size, for instance.
Great. Yeah, that's incredible. And the fact that the organization that you referenced, it was a college, was able to 20x their donations from major donors. It's unbelievable. That's
Well, the implications of not doing that, by the way, because in colleges are seeing this just like everybody else. There's this uh, donors down, dollars up kind of thing where there's fewer people giving, but they're still raising more money because the major donors are pitching in more.
mhm,
And if they had not invested in the system 10 years ago and planted that seed, they'd only be generating less revenue because they've got fewer donors. So, fortunately, as their donor count declined somewhat, their revenue among in fact, they only increased the number of donors, they doubled their major donor count to get a 20x increase in revenue.
amazing. Yeah, truly. That's some stunning statistics that you've got there. Um, Shifting gears a little bit, uh, the audience here is interested in omni-channel marketing.
Mhm.
Um, Postalytics is in the direct mail automation space, so we're always interested in a direct mail angle as it relates to omni-channel. How do you see direct mail working in concert with other channels to help build these long-term, highly engaging relationships?
So there's a few things here. Number one, a lot of organizations just don't have the emails or they didn't get permission to email people. So in that case, you really need to use direct mail, offer people the opportunity to take a survey or use one of the other 7 offers that we recommend. And then when people engage with those through value reciprocity, they'll give you their email, and in fact they'll often update their other records, their address and such. So direct mail is very helpful for that. But where it really comes in, and by the way, we supply our customers with direct mail they can use. We're not a printer. And this in fact is where you guys probably could come in really well, is because yours is essentially trying to get to a one click kind of very simple direct mail campaign where we're kind of like digging 2 holes through a mountain, and we need them to meet together, whereby you're helping out with the printing, we're helping out with engagement to collect data. um, the fact of the matter is that when you combine multiple channels, so just if you 1 plus 1 in a multi-channel world equals 7. Okay, email plus direct mail equals 700% the results, and we've tested this and seen this. It's not a boost. It doesn't double response. It multiplies it. It's exponential. So with our system, we collect data that you can't get from well screeners or big data providers because it's donor driven. We get data on, for instance, a big data wealth screener, whatever, they could tell you that there's no presence of children in the home, or there is presence of children. Maybe that's accurate, right? But most of the people we're talking to are people who, of course, don't have children in the home. You don't want to know if you have children in the home. You want to know, did they ever have a child that they would give their inheritance to rather than to the charity? Well, we find that out through our survey. We just ask them, have you ever had any children? How many? You know, we uncover, do you have a donor advised fund? That's not publicly available info. How do you have a family foundation? Because many of those have a different name than is their family name. And how likely are you to want to give through that or from that to us, and when? And so many other data points that are the true donor discovery data points that prospect identification can't gather or provide, and is in fact the reason why studies have shown that two-thirds, on average, two-thirds of the assigned leads that folks give or to their major gift officers, two-thirds are just false positives and wild goose chases and wasting people's time and frustrating. I've even heard at one college recently, not that we only work with colleges, we work with everybody, but it just happened to be a college where he said there's a war between prospect research, prospect identification, and the gift officers. It's just because they're being sent out and they're like, I know it's not going to work out. What they don't want more data or more assignments. They want people who are ready to talk about substantial, impactful giving. That's what we provide.
Yeah, yeah. Though that's uh, very powerful, and this notion of layering email and direct mail together to drive much higher engagement rates. It's consistent across all the industries that we participate in. We track a significant number of different vertical applications, uses of Postalytics. Direct mail is a tool like email. You can use it for anything, but the use in different industries is widely different, right? And the type of marketing that is that direct mail is living inside. And I think this idea of using it um, for survey purposes is, I think, a great idea. And now with the proliferation and acceptance of QR code capability of hopping from offline to online instantly, it has to drive the ability to use an offline channel to get a person onto a survey, to be that much faster and easier. Um, and in our little special sauce, we've got personalized QR codes that are unique, and so we know
We
exactly
use those.
who's hitting the QR code from what piece of mail, from what campaign, and then all that data becomes available via our API to be consumed and used for other purposes. And so um, it
Here's a
becomes really
benefit
a
of
part of a
using
digital
that
system.
with our system, and we use that, in fact, is because when people hit that personalized QR code, they end up going to a login of a survey. It's not a login, they don't have to log, they just end up at the survey. And then at the end of the survey, it says, please update your contact information. And we find 7% of the time they update it. So the donors, talk about donor driven, they're cleaning up the mail list. And then you can go from, for instance, if they said they have a donor advised fund and are willing to give and this, that, the other thing, and they're interested in giving to restore the orchestra section of the theater, something like that, right? And that could come up in the survey. Well, now you can make it that, okay, let's see, there were 314 people who said that, just making up a number. Now you can send out a direct mailer that's only for those 314 people. And it actually mentions the fact that many donors like you are finding that they're using their donor advised funds to help us this, that, the other. Please help us, refabricate this orchestra. And you can, when you do that, then the response rates really go up.
Right, right. Yeah. One of the concepts that we really drill into is that, you know, because we actually remove the minimum sending requirements that most printers have, you can send out one piece of mail and it's treated exactly the same way as a batch of 10,000.
Wow.
And it's all done in a 24-hour or 48-hour SLA, right, from the moment it hits our system. So you can use recency concepts and precision to use direct mail as a scalpel rather than a cluster bomb that it's been used in as the
That's
past.
right. It's
It
brilliant.
becomes so much more effective that way.
Indeed.
So, Greg, you've touched on a number of amazing topics here. One of the things that you've sort of sprinkled throughout the discussion are some free tools and resources
Yeah.
that you have created over the years. Give us a rundown of them. What are they? Where can nonprofits find these tools and resources? And so give us an understanding of them.
Yeah, so there's really two big ones that I give away for free. One I already mentioned was the fundraising report card, which is a metrics visualizer and analyzer that is just super, super simple. Now, if you love your Excel charts or you want to use Tableau or and such, or you want to fuss with AI, you can still get the charts and everything. But what this does is it either syncs with your CRM or you drag and drop the data, poof, you get the charts that you really need, and they're always there. And then they're updated as you update your data. And then you can compare yourself with the others in your unique splinter of a sector. Again, that's being refurbished actually right now, and pretty soon it's going to be monetized. So there will be some charts for free. Right now, it's 100% free. Use it. It's a little glitchy, I'll be honest, because we're rebuilding it. But yeah, use that. And then it'll be very low priced, honestly, because it's always been part of my philanthropy to give that away. But the costs are getting quite expensive. So I'm trying to balance that out. The other is something called the DAF widget. So I built that I don't know how long ago, but it's a little widget that if you just download the script, the code, and I give that away for free, it will help your donors who have a donor advised fund uh, uh, go through the process of giving at the time that they're on your website in a frictionless way. So it many people will give from their credit card. You know, they got an appeal, they got an email or something, and then they'll go and online and they'll forget they actually have a donor advised fund. And then the only options are credit card usually, so they'll just give from their credit card. $100, $500 maybe, right? But when you have 50,000 you already put away into the donor advised fund, you really want those folks to go to their donor advised fund, because
Right.
then the difference, it feels different to give away 5,000 or $20,000 when it's already there. But when you give cash, it feels like it hurts more for some reason. So using the DAF widget is a great free tool to put on your website, put on your payments page, so that you get the bigger gifts, the asset gift, instead of getting the low dollar cash gift.
Excellent. And you've written a book on this topic as well.
Yeah, yeah, that was written. Gosh, I think I wrote it in 2015, maybe it was 18, but it's I give it away for free. If you Google engagement fundraising by Greg Warner, you'll find it on Amazon, but you'll also probably find our landing page where you can get it as a PDF, tablet, audiobook, whatever format suits you. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, excellent. So, nonprofit fundraisers out there, lots of great resources that Greg and MarketSmart have put together over the years. Encourage everybody to engage with them. And finally, Greg, before we wrap, if anyone in the audience wants to reach out to connect with you and learn more about, some of the resources you put together, how MarketSmart might be able to help their nonprofit, how would the audience find you?
Yeah. So you can either email us at info@imarketsmart.com, or I actually prefer if people reach out to me on LinkedIn and direct message me. I like to engage with people. I'm really grateful that I have an amazing team behind me that does all the heavy lifting and the hard work. So not that I'm, bored, but I'm accessible. I'm happy to help, and I love talking to fundraisers.
Awesome. Well, I think as a fellow startup founder, talking to customers is like the best part of the day for folks like us because you glean insights on things that you've built up over the years. And so every conversation is valuable. So I certainly understand where you're coming from there. Uh, Greg, this has been great. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you coming on Print to Pixel today. Nonprofit fundraisers, uh, if your major gift program, mid-level gift program is not performing at the levels that we discussed today, reach out to Greg and his team. They've got a fantastic solution, and you're in great hands. They've been successful for a long period of time here. So, Greg, congrats on all the success. We look forward to speaking again real soon.
Thank you.